This is from Ron Paul's show. The one big beautiful bill. Tick, tick, boom. Big beautiful charade. Republicans cave, Democrats rave. I didn't realize we had, it was like, I mean, I suppose we could be raving. Do I have any rave music? Nope, that's not ravey music. I need something more kind of electronic and, or this, yeah. I need some sort of like fur animal hat and like a spinning, glowing stick or something. Yes, we're apparently raving. Congratulations, everybody. We're going to, as Prince would say, rave unto the joy fantastic. Yes, well, yes, there is but not all raves are gay. I'm just saying. Somebody was asking. You know what I mean? But just understand. Okay, here we go. This is them saying something about how the Democrats want this. I guess.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report.
Hello, you too as well. By the way, congratulations on looking exactly like a Muppet.
Dr. Paul is away today. We are heading into a big holiday weekend. I will inform you that the Liberty Report will be taking a vacation tomorrow. So
what? Vacation? How dare you? You should be working. You believe in no pulling your own weight. Bootstrap it, motherfucker.
We can all be outside by the pool, what have you. But I do want to do a little briefing today because today is the day the big, beautiful bill will be passing. In fact, as we speak, they're readying for final vote on the floor. There are a couple of procedural issues going on right now,
blah, blah, blah.
But they will soon be dispensed with. Now, let's have a recap of what happened. Overnight, there was a vote on the rule. A lot of people don't understand what a vote on the rule is.
I'm assuming it's a vote on the rule going forward so that it passes a rule hurdle and then the rule is proven and therefore, you do not break the rule. I could be wrong.
No bill can be brought to the floor until a rule is passed.
Yeah, right.
And what a rule does, it defines the parameters of the debate. How long does the debate last? Can members come down? How much time can they claim? Are amendments allowed? Are they not allowed? This sort of thing. It sort of defines how the debate goes. Generally speaking, a rule vote is a vote that proceeds along party lines. And I remember when Dr. Paul was in the House, as a general rule, even when he hated the bill, he would vote in favor of the rule because he thought that the bill should be debated. And so that's what had happened last night. But there was kind of a late night rebellion. They held the vote open, I think, until 3 or so in the morning.
We know this.
The big, beautiful bill from coming to the floor for a final vote and would have ruined President Trump's 4th of July signing ceremony. So basically, they stayed up all night, twisting arms, twisting elbows, twisting anything in sight.
Really? Well, I'm pretty sure Mike Johnson's porn app alarm went off.
And I know this is going to shock you, but by morning, when the members started getting tired, they relented, and they voted for the bill, and the bill passed. And this is probably the most predictable passage of a funding bill that you will ever see. Having spent 12 years or 11 years on the Hill, this is how it happens. The drama peaks because there are some holdouts who want to make a point. And then, of course...
Yes. So anyways, they're all in a room, bunch of sweaty men, twisting anything they can get their hands on, and then somebody peaks, and then the vote passes. This is gross.
They will relent. It's almost like a struggle session. And after they feel a little better, they relent. And so I just want to make one note as well, and that is that there are some comments about Thomas Massie, who originally voted in favor of the rule. And then when he saw that there was a pretty decent-sized rebellion, he added his voice to the rebellion. And then when they all predictably caved, he went ahead and voted yes to the rule again. And some people are calling that flip-flopping. It's not flip-flopping. It's again, a procedural vote to allow the bill to proceed. So what happened?
So this asshole uses StreamYard. We now know that.
Of things on the floor. This is an example of how things work. Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina, not picking on him.
Why not?
Says that he's one of the holdouts, and he eventually ended up voting for the bill. He said President Trump did a masterful job of laying out how we could improve it, how he could use his chief executive office, use things to make the bill better. Again.
By the way, what he means is he could bend how the bill is implemented with discretionary spending to benefit red states over blue states, even though the numbers don't pan out that way.
We've got to pass the bill to make the bill better.
Yeah, sounds like the same shit you guys were decrying about the ACA.
That makes very little sense.
Right, it never did, but suddenly it's okay with you guys.
So the Republicans, yes, they caved, and here's what Politico said. They are quoting House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and can kind of hear the contempt dripping from his lips. He said, for a long time, there were members that really thought there was a chance the bill was going to get opened up again to amendment. It became clear from the president's meeting at the White House to further conversations later that, for all the back and forth, the bill's closed. There's going to be no amendments to the bill. That's it. The bill is there. It's going to be voted on. Now, there were holdouts that are not going to surprise you. For example, Chip Roy from Texas. He is the one member who talks the best game and who always caves and always votes yes.
Did you hear that, Chip Roy? Ron Paul's stuntman just called you a pussy on the Liberty Report.
And I listened to this. This is yesterday. Chip Roy said, fact, the Senate BBB increases deficits and violates the terms of the budget deal in the White House. The Senate OBB guts the strong provisions to terminate the Green New Scam. The Senate OBB removes key provisions to stop illegal aliens from getting Medicare, etc., etc. He goes down the list on how the bill was made worse by the Senate.
By the way, what he means by worse, and this should be really important, the Senate put stuff back in for renewables and tax credits for that kind of stuff, and didn't gut Medicaid as far as the House wanted to go. That's what he means by worse. That the cuts weren't as big as they thought. And also, can I just say, all of the cuts on the, quote, Green New Scam, the Green New Deal elements that they talked about in this don't even fucking chart financially. Like, they're so minuscule that I think, what is it? It's all less than like $10 billion in a $7 trillion regular year budget. And obviously over 10 years, it's fucking ridiculous. And if you're going to seed possible future technologies and that kind of stuff, that kind of minor investment in it is tiny. Please look into the Medicare cuts. Okay, will do. Yes.
And then proceeded.
Hold on one second. I'll show you the, let's see. Project trigger significant cuts to Medicare. Here we go. This is the, so what this thing does, and this is kind of crucial to it. Let me shrink this down so you can see it. Well, maybe. A lot of the way they get around this is that the cuts, this is the recent House bill often referred to as the reconciliation bill, the BBB, is projected to trigger significant cuts in Medicare, potentially exceeding $500 billion over the next decade. These cuts are largely due to the statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2010. That's pay-go. So they don't cut it outright. What it does is it lights the fuse, right? Which mandates spending reductions if a bill increases the deficit. The bill's potential impact on Medicare is a major concern for healthcare advocates. Okay, so in it, it's expected to increase the deficit, so it will trigger automatic cuts. Congressional Budget Office estimates these cuts could amount to $535 billion over the 2026-2034 period. And again, starting in 2026, meaning the year after. So tail end of the year is when the cuts start coming in, right? potential for deeper cuts. Some members of Congress are reportedly seeking even larger cuts to healthcare programs. They're going to do that anyways. They'll have to pass those on a 60 vote margin, and I don't see that happening. This would be the food and aid and assistance cuts. Okay. Yeah. So cuts. Sure. Let me shrink this down for you. Squeeze down here. You're crazy. Okay. All right. Cuts. This is the current cuts that are in this bill, insofar as we know, because again, they voted for it without actually knowing. Cuts Medicaid by imposing the work reporting requirements, increasing enrollee cost sharing, making Medicaid harder to qualify for, which is the big one. They figure by raising the standard, they're getting rid of fraud instead of the people that have the hardest time. They're going to bury people in paperwork, so they just give up. Eliminating access for many lawfully present migrants. That would be people who are on it because of age or what have you. They've been, naturalized citizens, or they're here on a green card or something like that. Let's see, reducing state financing options and restricting state payments to hospitals, nursing facilities, and other providers. And that's the other thing too, is that the restrictions on those are because. And this is where Trump will play fast and loose with other funds in his slush to make this so that red states don't get hurt as much. Because, again, what these red states often do is they take federal funds and they'll move those funds into like kind of a block grant idea for the whole state so that they can put tax dollars in their state towards supporting what would effectively be Medicaid type stuff and support programs, NGOs and other stuff in their state, so they can pretend like they're bootstrapping and not taking these big funds from the federal government when they are. They're just shuffling them. It's why they talk about Iran the way they do. Like, you're going to give Iran money for oil, they're going to use it for terrorism because it's money that they would have to take, money that they were going to use for food and medicine for their own people. Now they have that money because of you guys, so they can take that money and give it to terrorists, right? That's the same thing. Okay, the reason why they say that is because that's what Republican governors do. Not with terrorism necessarily, but with like shuffling cash, right? Undermines Medicare by stripping coverage away from current enrollees, halting rules that would make nursing homes safer, reducing beneficiary access to cost assistance programs. By the way, my mom is a nurse and worked in home health services, and her job in Kentucky was going around to like home care sites and old folks' homes and making sure make sure they're feeding everybody and not leaving them, stranded in their own filth. That was her job. After she retired as an actual nurse, she worked for the state doing that. Those state programs exist in every state, and a lot of them are shored up. The number of people they have doing these jobs are shored up by federal funds. Those are effectively gone now, so it will be up to the state whether they give a shit. And what you'll see in a lot of these red states is they don't. Threatens ACA coverage by eliminating tax credits that help more than 22 million people, buy marketplace plans, narrowing sign-up windows, creating other barriers to enrollment, such as changing eligibility requirements based on immigration status, slashes SNAP benefits by increasing red tape and shifting costs to states, putting food security and health at risk. We knew they were going to do this. And then increases Medicare costs for low-income beneficiaries. By eliminating key improvements that streamlined access to the Medicare savings programs, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects nearly 1.4 million low-income people with Medicare, more than 10% of the dually enrolled Medicare and Medicaid population, would lose their MSP coverage due to the rollback of these simplifications. This would undo years of progress in reducing health and financial insecurity amongst older adults. It lowers Social Security checks by forcing beneficiaries to pay higher Medicare costs. That's the other thing, too. That's like, we're not doing anything to Social Security, when actually you're making people who are on Social Security pay more in another area. So your money doesn't go as far. These financial burdens will grow with time. Annual Part B premiums are projected to reach nearly $2,500 in 2026, more than $4,000 by 2034. Enrollees with very low incomes would even have more at stake. They would lose MSP coverage of additional Medicare expenses like deductible and copayments. These costs would consume a significant share of limited beneficiary budgets. One case study found that an older couple living on an annual income of $21,000 would pay $8,340 more for Medicare next year. This is a purge of the poor. That's what this is. This is a culling of people that the Peter Thiels and the J.D. Vance of the world think of as too weak and worthless. These are useless eaters. That's what Henry Kissinger used to talk, like the way he used to talk about poor people. Useless eaters. That's what they're talking about. That's what this is. So again, I don't want to hear any, as somebody who was raised Christian, I don't want to hear anything from these assholes with their claim to be a Christian. Mike Johnson knows he's doing this and doesn't care. Okay. Makes prescription drug coverage more expensive for low-income Medicare beneficiaries. I mean, that's across the board, by the way. The Medicare and Medicaid stuff is meant to make the people on Medicare who have money use more of it towards that for themselves. The Social Security Administration estimates LIS saves enrollees about $6,200 per year, a number that is likely to rise as drug prices do without MSP and its coordination with LIS. Beneficiaries would be on the hook for those costs too. The work requirements, by creating a job loss penalty that would apply to individuals up to the age of 64, putting coverage and care at significant risk. CBO finds that at least 5.2 million adults would lose Medicaid, including many who are working or should have an exemption, but would nevertheless get tripped up by the requirements' red tape. This provision would likely have a disproportionate impact on the 22 million Medicaid enrollees who are 50 and older, who face outsized barriers to steady employment as well. Yeah, the funny thing is they want you to get a fucking job, and there aren't jobs to be had in a lot of these areas, and they know it. Also, I like to be abundantly clear that when they talk about fraud, you talk about people who are bullshitting the system or whatever, those people have all their faculties and can spend all fucking day filing all the paperwork. If you're a fraudster, this is easier for you. This is MedicareRights.org. This is their list on it. Right? Think about it. If you're bullshitting, if you're completely healthy, but you're scamming the system, you've got all your mental faculties. You don't get exhausted, right? You're not sick half the day. You don't have to get a fucking blood transfusion or dialysis every couple of days or any of that shit. You could just sit at home and be full of shit. Well, all those folks, the people like that, won't have a problem refiling and filing all their paperwork. They're not going to be buried under paperwork. They can do it very easily, right? But people who are really on the downsides, who are really sick, will have a hard time filling out that paperwork. So here's the thing. What's that going to mean? Well, it means that somebody's going to step in and help them. So there's going to have to be, and Democrats can help with this, there's going to have to be a system in place where, like, if you feel like your Medicare or your Medicaid is difficult, you need to help filling out your forms and taking care of it, you're going to need organizations that can do that. And I think that's one of the areas where Democrats could help a lot, right? They could, supply that service. Help people get informed about their rights and what they need to do to maintain their coverage. Puts long-term care at risk, making it hard to qualify for Medicaid coverage and shifting costs to states. This is overwhelmingly likely to result in cuts to home and community-based services. By the way, that's largely in red states. Blue states are going to pick up the slack. Reduces ACA plan enrollment and affordability because they're trying to choke it off, but it won't work. People will still just sign up in a narrower window. Restricts Medicare and ACA eligibility by terminating Medicare coverage for many individuals with lawful immigration status who have worked and paid taxes in the U.S. for decades. This is and again, there aren't enough of these people to make a dent at all. There's, honest to God, paves the way for, where is this? Okay, sorry. Paves the way for bigger Medicare rollbacks by ballooning the national debt. Okay, this is the other thing, is they're hoping to starve the beast by choking it to death with debt later on. It's very hard to put together a national healthcare system if your country is that far in debt. So Republicans have a reason for saddling this much debt on the government because if Democrats get in charge, we won't be able to afford the programs that will help folks. That's what they're counting on too. That's one of the other reasons why Republicans will run up so much debt during the time, as much as they give a shit, they pretend to give a shit about fiscal conservatism or protecting, our future generations from the burden of debt. There's a valid reason why, on a political strategy equation, why they would want this done, why they would want to saddle the country with this much debt. Because if a Democrat gets in, it's really hard to make the argument, we've got the money to do this, right? There you go. Let's see. Nonpartisan analysis confirms devastating coverage losses from the bill. CBO projects roughly 17 million additional people would lose health insurance as a direct result. Ripple effects on hospitals, providers, and communities. By the way, they want people to, for all the story about the ACA was a giveaway to insurance companies. The dismantling of the ACA is a huge giveaway to insurance companies who were doing way better before the ACA existed. And it's going to go back to that. Congrats, everybody. All the folks who thought, all or nothing. Guess what? You're going to end up burning it down to nothing. Ripple effects on hospitals, providers, and communities from cuts in Medicaid aid and Medicare would jeopardize hospitals and healthcare clinics, especially in rural communities, likely forcing facility closures. By the way, that was the $50 billion that they added, which is just to pad it out so people would blame the bill for those closings. By the time those closings start to happen, they delay them basically by putting them on a credit card. That's what that was. They're going to, and by the time those things start closing, they're going to blame whoever's in charge. Hopefully they'll be saying like, it's almost like after Bush, they felt like, well, let's just let Democrats win and run things because they're going to catch hell for how things are because it's going to suck for a while because of what we did. Job losses across states would skyrocket according to recent analysis 2029. Bill's Medicaid and SNAP cut would cost states $154 billion, 18% more than they could save. They would save the government. Nationwide, 1.22 million jobs would be lost, and state and local tax revenues would drop by $12 billion. Cuts to Medicare. And by the way, they don't care. They don't care about those jobs. They think other people will do other shit. Again, and talking about these things, it's important to know these details. But you got to know that the way we hear it is not how they hear it. You're going to need a different way to convince these people that they're doing something wrong. More preventable deaths would occur due to reduced access to affordable, high-quality coverage and care. Researchers estimate over 51,000 additional people would die each year if the bill is enacted. This includes 18,200 low-income Medicare, Medicaid enrollees who would lose MSP and LIS. Another 20,000 lives could be lost each year from disenrollments in Medicaid and marketplace coverage, and 13,000 from the rollback of nursing home staffing rules. Again, they think that this is like they're selling it as God's plan. Right? Republicans voted to create a lot of Luigis today. They voted to be them. All right. You have to understand, this is the Republicans following Luigi's lead. It is wrong on either side to go, the problem would be solved if these people were no longer alive. There's no difference between Luigi and these guys. They just have a different target. They think getting rid of these people will solve their problem. Mangione, the guy who shot the head of the healthcare company in New York. Which again, it's gross. I'm against the death penalty, especially one without trial. Sue me. I'm not anti-Luigi. He doesn't even factor to me. I'm anti-death penalty. Especially without trial. Period. I'm fundamentally against shooting people in the street because you think you're going to make a dent in a giant system. Fuck that. And if you don't think it adds to their justification, that's what they think. They think these people got to go because they're destroying the country. These immigrants, right, who are on Medicaid and stuff, they're destroying the country. But how it's only old and sick people that will die? Right. And no, it isn't. By the way, they also think that the genetically invalid will die. And those people are a leech on the system. But you have nothing else to lose? Silly. Luigi is a fuckhead. No. Abject murder is not how the system works, and nor should it. And rallying behind it is forgiving these people for doing the same thing. Because it's the same thing they're saying. Some people just gotta go. And until these people die, you guys won't realize how right we are. That's what the Republicans are saying with this bill. You wait. You wait until these poor people die off and these immigrants get shuffled out of the country or put in gulags. Then things will be awesome and we'll be right. And I'll show you. That's no different from what this Luigi fucker said. No different. It's just a different target. The behavior is wrong no matter who does it. It's ridiculous. It's murder. And you can't be for it some of the time. It's fucking stupid. And again, morally, these guys agree with him. They just disagree with the target.